Hey, welcome back to another week of News Bytes. This week's newsletter is called Overcomers Persist, and it's on Luke chapter 18. From Eliyahu. Shalom, friends. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, or so I've been told. This saying makes a few assumptions. First, there are other wheels competing for that grease. In other words, there always seems to be a lot of other people who want exactly what you want, whether grease or whatever. Second, if you want to get the proverbial grease, then you need to squeak louder than the rest. Third, you must keep squeaking louder and louder until you have become so overwhelmingly annoying that someone will give you the grease just to shut you up. Some people call this getting the grease. Others call it nagging. Pretty much everybody calls it annoying as all get out, which of course is why it works. Yes, nagging works. I hate that it works, but it does work, which is why we live in a world full of nagging voices. This is one aspect of the modern world of high-tech communication that I find distinctly unpleasant. On the internet, it's called push technology, a very appropriate term since it is highly pushy. Push technology works through email, cell phone apps, so-called cookies as you browse the web, and through sophisticated machine learning algorithms that track everything you do on the internet, and increasingly even off the internet, into the real world. Multi-billion-dollar companies are listening to you in your bedroom via your TV or other equipment, whether you turn it on or not. They listen in on your phone conversations and even the dialogue in the room.
People can't shake the feeling that their phones may be picking up their conversations even when they're not making a call. Recent headlines highlight how some consumers believe they could be getting ads just by chatting about products in normal conversation. Tony DeCopel did some research of his own. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, and I was one of those consumers. If you're getting online ads for things you never search for online, you may think a company is listening in, and that is possible, experts say. But companies know so much about you already, they probably don't need to eavesdrop.
All of this invasion of your privacy is happening because nagging has become monetized as targeted advertising. Huge money is being paid by advertisers to be there in any given moment when you might seem to suggest any remote vulnerability to their sales message when they target you and squeak louder in your ear than all the rest. If you don't respond in that moment, and maybe even if you do, once they have targeted you, their nagging message will follow you everywhere you go until they get your grease. After that, of course, their nagging will only keep increasing as they keep pushing in your direction forever. If you thought the targeted advertising was the worst of it, guess again. There's a far more sinister side to all of this, which is truly alarming. The internet giants are not content with simply telling you something. They want much more than that. They want to control your mind. That may sound extreme, and it is, but it's also true. The reason is that they have both the need and the influence to remold the world into the place that is optimized to their liking. Since they have a global market, they also have a globalist mentality with a political and social agenda to match. Don't be so naive as to think that they would not use their global high-tech platform to influence the masses one person at a time to conform to their thinking. This brings nagging to a whole other level, to the level of brainwashing. They're tracking you in an attempt to steer you towards the ideas that they want you to think about and towards the news with the spin that they want you to accept. Their methods are often very subtle, but they're constantly nagging you to think like they want you to think, and it may be working far better than you could ever imagine. See the video, The Creepy Line. Here's my question. How much of that unceasing flood of high-tech nagging is from God? Not much. Here is my next question. If it's not from God, then who is it from? Right. Are you seeing the enormity of the problem? Yes, the devil is in control of this world, and our high-tech age is a massive force multiplier for him. It allows him to literally hound mankind into conformity with his plans and purposes, and to inflict punishment upon any who do not go along with the crowd in supporting his evil ends. In biblical terms, we're talking about the broad road that leads to destruction. That's a lot to resist day in and day out. And do you feel the stress of that? It's a massive constant pressure. That's why you can't take your salvation for granted. Rather, you must work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. The narrow road must be your constant concern if you're going to overcome the world, the flesh, and the devil. To win, you must run with perseverance the race that is set before us. You must overcome to win the race, and that will take a lot of perseverance. Since the devil and the world are constantly nagging you, then you must be even more persistent in your course than they are in trying to turn you away. To overcome, you must counter all of that nagging from the world with the truth from the scriptures. Most of us need help with that, which is what Zion is all about. Unlike the world, we're not tracking you and invading your life all the time. Generally, you get just this one newsletter from us to keep you up to date with what we are offering. After that, it's entirely up to you to use your Zion resources or not. We know that since the pressure from the world is constant, then your efforts at combining the river of lies with the truth must be constant also. That's why we prominently post our Zion Partner action points near the top of each Zion news. These click through to the website where each point is found. By following these each week, you can systematically build up your knowledge of the truth in a few hours each week. Many have found this a hugely powerful way to help them stay on the narrow path. And it does take persistence from week to week to reap these benefits, but this is left entirely up to you to utilize or not. We hope you do though, because we care about how things turn out for you. And we are doing all we can to help you run the race to finish as an overcomer. A major offering of Zion is our weekly Sabbath meetings, which you can join live online or view the video recording on demand from the website. We are listening carefully to Messiah in the Gospels right now as we move through them verse by verse. Again, this is persistent forward movement as we run the race towards the finish. There's nothing like the words and example of our Messiah to empower us to overcome the world in these last days, and moving with him through his words and actions is truly transformative. It is, because we're supposed to learn from him. So by studying his life and studying what he did back then, even though it seems like a long time ago and probably not a modern way to handle things, there's a lot of ways in which we can apply his teaching to our lives today. And a lot of the programs on Zion Road Radio help out with that, because it applies the scriptures to situations today. And it does help. It is a little by little thing, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. That's all I have to really say about this newsletter. So if you have any comments, leave them below. I really appreciate your feedback. Like and subscribe, and watch this week's Sabbath meeting that went along with this newsletter. Thank you.